So, when did you have a shift in the challenge that changed everything that you knew about your cycle?
Um, I remember the day I told you that I was on the train. Like I really remember that because I knew that there was times where I felt more invoked or more like my magic more. But I remember just sitting there on the train and just closing my eyes and just sort of being taken away, like totally taken away from where I am. Like, you know what I mean? Like I do it in my readings and that, but some days it's harder than others. But just when I closed my eyes, I was just totally shifted. And I've never really noticed how easy it can be for me. I think it was that day, I think it was Luteal when I felt more magic. And it's like I had bursts of inspirations along the way. It's like, oh, wow, this is amazing, you know what I mean? But I think to actually really feel my magic that intensely,
Mm-hmm.
it was really the first time I actually took notice of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what was the most surprising thing that you learned about yourself in the challenge?
Um, that I do underestimate myself and really don't really see my full potential
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. I just sort of run on, I don't know. I feel like I run on Kindle where I could be running on firewood, if that makes sense. And I
Explain
think
more.
if I, sorry?
Explain more.
So I feel like just because I don't always back myself 100%. So sometimes I just throw Kindle in my fire and I just don't fully commit myself. But what I can do when I actually put a log of firewood in my energy center and I guess just believe in myself wholeheartedly, how much I can actually achieve. Because I feel like my automatic is like hold a little bit back, hold a little bit back.
Mm-hmm.
And so for I'm only giving half of my potential in everything I do. But I think through the challenge, I realized that I can throw so much more wood or fire into that energy center of mine, and I can produce so much more creativity if I'm, I guess, aware of that.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like that 100, like I don't always 100% back myself and my abilities. I just feel like I'll just put half of my energy into it. But then I feel like I think that was a fear that I might burn out. I do burn out, but it's like usually when I'm trying to control my energy too much when I do burn out. But if I just back myself 100%, I just notice that I am supported by myself as well.
Mhm.
So I think that's the biggest thing I realized about myself, the challenge.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you are. You're doing so well. Doing so
Mm-hmm.
well. And when you started the challenge, you had a why for doing the challenge, and it was to show all the different sides of you.
Well,
You know,
I
your
think it's
vulnerability,
because,
your strongness.
yeah, I think because I knew I had to get on videos and I hold so much of myself back. I really do, like from people in the world, because I don't know. I think it's because maybe it's me wanting to sort of just stay in the background, but a part of me, I don't know if it's actually fear or anything like that, but sometimes I feel like it's easier to stay in the background, but I just feel like it's different now that I actually have to go out there and expose myself and talk about myself a lot more, and it kind of feel uncomfortable. So I just thought this challenge would be a good reason for me to feel more comfortable about talking about my more personal self with the public, I guess, instead of just feeling like I have to chop bits of, instead of, I guess it's more people pleasing. I've always felt like I had to chop little parts of myself
Mm.
apart and just give little bits like slices of cake to people. But I didn't want to be that way anymore. I just wanted to say, hey, I'm me. This is the whole me. Like give them the whole cake instead of just those slices that I feel are appropriate, because that's takes too much energy and too much worry to do that, to sort of say what slice is right for you, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Instead of just saying, hey, this is me. You know, if you don't like me, you know, you don't have to be here. I just wanted to get that confidence in myself to be able to do that for myself.
And did you think you fulfilled that through the
I
challenge?
feel I feel like I have, because I feel like even at work, because I work's a completely neutral environment for me, I feel like I'm a bit more myself there, and I'm happier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love you were so like the what's the trailblazer in sharing your vulnerabilities. Like, yeah, so courageous. So yeah, thank you for being that trailblazer. Like, it was so inspirational to listen to your story and
I just thought
have
I'm
that
cheating myself.
courage.
Yeah.
And
I
like
just feel like
your Facebook group is like really the title of it, Women Who Are Ready to Roar. It just fits you so perfectly.
Well, I just feel like holding myself back. I'm really just cheating who I am, and I'm just really wasting my life and not being heard and not being seen. I've had, I guess, with me, because it's like I don't know, I wrote a whole thing about being silenced. I felt like I've been silenced in the past, or I felt like I had to compromise so much for everyone in the past that I've sort of just tired of that old energy. It's like, I'm happy. I just want to show people that I'm happy. I'm still the same Kassi. It's just I'm doing things my own way now. Like, I'm still ready to help you any which way, but I'm doing it my way. I'm not doing it the way that you want me to do it anyway anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. And if you had to mentor a younger Kassi, maybe in her 20s or maybe late teens, how would you describe the menstrual cycle to her?
I would say stop being so hard on yourself. It's okay to have these times of rest. You don't have to fight everyone for having rest. You don't need to prove the meaning of having rest to anybody. If you feel like you need to just rest. There will be time where you can have everything, but just because I don't know, I was a nervous sort of child, and I felt if I don't do something or like be there for everyone else, that something bad might happen to me. So I've used to burn out all the time. Instead of just having those maybe week and a half of rest, I used to have like full on for about 3 months, and then be a total wipeout for like a month after that, where I didn't want to be in anyone's space. So that would be probably the most important thing, is just say, hey, if you need rest, give yourself rest, and probably talk about how you're meant to support yourself more in a menstrual stage, and that's just natural.
Yeah.
And just give her the confidence that, hey, things will get back on track. Because when you're in burnout, which used to happen to me a lot, because with the anxiety and just going, I think in burnout, you get so desperate for anything to happen for you when you're in that burnout moment. So when you do get that little bit of energy, you just sort of feed anyway. Like, it's kind of like feeding, because you just want to get back on your feet so desperately. But just to be able to tell her that, hey, you've got to trust your energy, listen to what you're feeling, and don't push yourself. Like, don't push yourself to be there for that person if you know you're not physically able. So that's probably what I would tell my younger self, just so she didn't get burnout. All that burnout, it's kind of like the relationships seem distorted as well, because you're giving so much, and because you're in burnout, you want that much back from the other person, but the other person, who's probably more healthy than me, is not going to give me that much energy, because it's like, hey, I need to look after myself as well. So you also have that downfall of, oh, that person doesn't love me because they're not giving me what I need. So I think it's just the whole distorted relationships I've had, because I've given so much in the past as well, then expected things back, because I didn't know how to really manage my own energy and trust myself to go in, look after myself. then come out and give what I can offer to the world. And I've actually noticed now that I've really listened to myself a lot better. I can give a lot more than I did in the past as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Yep.
great observations. Yeah, that's cool. And one last question: with all your life experience, and now you've got the cycle experience thrown on top of it, how would you describe what does femininity mean to you now?
It's funny, I've actually been thinking about that, like the whole lady thing. And because I was taught to be like, when I was younger, like women are meant to be quiet, women are meant to be small, which is, totally opposite to me now. But I thought in the past, to be feminine, you had to be that ladylike, that polite, that quiet little girl to be feminine. But I've had these whole like explosions of like sexual thought. Like a friend said, "Oh, why don't you do an OnlyFans page?" It's like, I want to feel sexy, but I wouldn't do it naked. Like, I don't know what OnlyFans is. Like, I was actually thinking in places that I would never go because, I don't have problems with women being nude or anything like that. I think it's just the expression of the creativity, but it's just a juxtaposition to where I came from.
Yeah.
And just, I don't think I would because I'm in the public eye a lot. But it's like, I was actually thinking about what's wrong with me painting in a bra? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It just really exploring that sexuality within me. And I feel like this is feminine as well. Like, I mean, the whole creativity is totally feminine. It's just how I was pre-constructed as a little girl. Like, I'm not female if I'm loud and want to change things. Females are meant to be passive, stay at home. But now I'm going into this other world where I'm exploring other ideas and other worlds, like, and seeing, is it for me or is it not for me at the moment?
Yeah.
And I think it's just, I have a very open mind about femininity, and I don't think you can really box it because I find mine has evolved so much. Like, I thought feminine was this quiet little girl, like, petticoat, umbrella, you know what I mean? Mary Poppins sort of looking like that's what feminine was when I was little. But how it's evolved as I've gotten older and just realized my own creativity, in my own sexuality, and that. And it's like just all these questions coming in about, like, a man's, like, men and women, you know what I mean? Men are able to fully embrace their sexuality and feel good about it. But if they didn't, they feel bad. Like, so they're on this end of the spectrum. If you're not a sexual man, there's something wrong with you. Where women were like, if you're a sexual woman, there's something wrong with you. So I just feel like I've been tying the two together and just saying, like, as a whole, we're both, you know what I mean? This femininity and masculinity, they need to go together and they need to be in part of you. So I just have to think like them two energies working together. I think it's the thought process and the feeling process behind the whole picture. Like, I think the masculinity is the action. You have to have, to me, the femininity is the thought, the actual exploring the idea internally and seeing if it's right for you. And then you give that permission to that more masculine part of you to say, hey, this thing's really exciting. I desire this. Do you feel comfortable really going to give that a go? But I think you need to come back and explore things, because if I didn't have that feminine part of me exploring things, it's like, is that really for me? Is that sexuality? Am I really ready to expose myself that much? Am I really ready to sit in front of the camera and doing that? You have to have that insight and just say, it sounds good, it feels sexy, but really it's not the right place for me. Because I think if you don't have that forethought, you could get yourself in a situation that you may regret. But then sometimes it might be the right for you. It just depends how adventurous you are as a human. Being, obviously, I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea, but maybe it's not a good idea because of the type of field I want to get into, even though I love empowering women. And I thought my idea was like how empowering that would be for me. But I guess knowing the general scope of people and where people are at, some people might not think that's empowering. Maybe some people might think that's disempowering for women as well. So there's all these different types of ideas. And I think that's the feminine, it's the ideas and the exploration internally. And the masculinity is like, okay, we've got this, we'll do that for you. So that's my idea of it now.
Yeah, I like how you brought the masculine into that, and how that, you know, we're both, you know, the feminine and the masculine. I thought you wrapped that up or summed that up really well. Yeah. That's cool. Well, that's it for me. Is there any final thoughts or feelings?
No, I really enjoy this adventure. Like, I have to say I was a bit nervous at the start. It's like, oh, what's going to come up for me? Or maybe I'll say something that people might like and might not like. But then look at me now, I'm talking about, like, I was thinking about OnlyFans. It's like, I probably wouldn't even talk to anyone about the thought of that. You know what I mean? It's like, Kassi, in that thought, maybe not, but it's just something that I have been exploring this month. It's like, you know, I think it's probably because I'm almost 40, like next year. It's like, oh, is there still that, like, you know, you still want to feel sexy even if you're older, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, oh, how can I make myself feel empowered that way? And it's like, oh, I've just been exploring other ideas that's really outside of myself. And I think it's because I'm coming to that age where it's like, oh, I'm not in my youth anymore. I should have let that go ages ago, but I'm very young at heart, you see.
This is the Alexa, Where Is My Period 28-day challenge.